Friends, welcome to a new episode in the Ubisoft soap opera. An episode that is not funny. This stopped being funny and started being sad a few months ago, but now, specifically, we have to address a worrying issue. And that is, according to official information, because this comes directly from a shareholder of Ubisoft, the French company, without telling anyone, investors, the public, their players, or absolutely anyone else. They would be looking at how they could sell some of their video games to companies like Microsoft, Electronic Arts, and many others. Dismantle the company after all, see what they can sell more or less to save themselves. Let's see how we tackle today's topic, because it's weird. Ubisoft's current situation is peculiar, but we'll strive to provide the most appropriate commentary on the matter. We've frequently discussed Ubisoft's current situation on this channel. What is the current state of the company? What is happening? All the crisis and so on. And honestly, I really don't feel like repeating what we've been saying for so long. But I have to put things in context for those who are more or less new so they know what we're talking about. In summary, Ubisoft is screwed. Star Wars Outlaws, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, Skullbones, Roller Champions, Hyperscape, Rainbow Six Extraction, X-Defiant, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. All these Ubisoft video games, everything Ubisoft has been releasing in the last 3 or 4 years, is it a total failure or a commercial failure? Because in this list of games, I mentioned titles that are good, that are fun, but they did not meet Ubisoft's objectives. I also mentioned some terrible titles like Skullbones. Well, the thing is that Ubisoft has been releasing video games for 5 years that none achieve the commercial success they need. Ubisoft's strategies to save themselves from this situation apparently are two. The first one is related to Tencent, as Tencent owns part of the company. They are investors in Ubisoft and they have a lot of money. Well, because yes, Chinese with money. Ubisoft would apparently be waiting for Tencent to make an economic rescue, reinvest money, buy shares, and buy another percentage of the company. And what do I know? How much more? The point is that so far this would not be happening, or at least it has not happened yet. The second strategy, which is more of a bet than a strategy, is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ubisoft's idea is that the game will be a resounding success and save Ubisoft from the economic depression they are in now. The issue here is that it's reported that Assassin's Creed Shadows has a very low pre-order rate. It seems that people's interest in this game is not that high. And supposedly the pre-orders for Shadows are much lower than the pre-orders for Assassin's Creed Mirage, which in fact to encourage these pre-orders for Shadows. Ubisoft even decided to give away the first downloadable content of the video game if you pre-order it. Shadows hasn't come out yet, so everything is not yet said and done. But for now, things look worse than with Assassin's Creed Mirage. It's not a game that has done very badly, but it's also not a game that has done very well. And what Ubisoft needs now is for it to do very well. Well, we have Shadows, which for now we see as very lukewarm, and we have Tencent, which is not putting in money. So the two strategies that Ubisoft had are worth pure vegetables. And here I want to take a break and comment something very briefly about Assassin's Creed Shadows, because I've been playing it for several days now. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm in a position to comment on the game and give you my impression of this title. I really want to do it, at least briefly, as I believe it contributes to the video. Assassin's Creed Shadows is not a bad game. In essence, it's a game that's okay, but it's still more of the same. Is it the same thing you've already seen in Valhalla, in Odyssey, or in the modern Assassin's Creed? You figure it out. If you like the formula, that of Assassin's Creed, leveling up your character to face many bosses that are all the same on a gigantic map, well, you're going to like it. Assassin's Creed Shadows, why is that? The problem is that the formula of Assassin's Creed Shadows is old. It's the same formula that Ubisoft has been using for a long time. And it's not what Ubisoft needs. Ubisoft needs an Elden Ring. Ubisoft needs a Hogwarts Legacy. A game that sweeps in sales, that is a total sensation. And I'm sure Shadows won't do badly in sales, but it's not going to be what Ubisoft is hoping for to save itself. I've spent 30 hours on Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I'm in a position to tell you that if you like the Assassin's Creed that Ubisoft has been releasing lately, you're going to like this one because it's more of the same. But if, like a lot of other Ubisoft audience, you're a bit tired of the Assassin's Creed formula, there you have just another run-of-the-mill game. As of today, Ubisoft has 41 studios and 18,500 employees. They had 20,000 employees and 45 studios last year, but they've been cutting back and laying off. And so far in the last 5 years, they've only had very low-performing games or ones that don't meet their expectations. And failures and cancellations, they need Gyarados to be a real Elden Ring. I'm referring to commercial success, not the game type. And it's not going to happen. What's the plan then? What the hell are they doing? What's the strategy to move forward? If neither A nor B seem to be going to work out, if neither Tencent puts in money nor Shadows comes to be the savior of Ubisoft, well, it seems that the strategy would be to sell separate intellectual properties. That is, to sell some games, some IPs, separately to other companies like Microsoft and Electronic Arts. This came to light in a recent report from IGN, where one of Ubisoft's shareholders was interviewed, specifically to Juraj Krupa, Chief Executive Officer of AJ Investments. A man who stated that Ubisoft is an absolute disaster and that they secretly plan to sell games to other companies. Ubisoft is poorly managed by its current leadership. They don't have a clear roadmap for recovery and they don't know how to handle the decrease in stock value. They failed to effectively adapt to the market, the shareholder commented. He raises a valid point. Ubisoft adhered to a specific game model, which is the typical Assassin's Creed game, the typical Far Cry game, the typical Ubisoft thing we see today. That has already got a no, that already feels too repetitive, that hasn't significantly updated. As for new players to come, or more people to feel attracted and the company to keep growing. The last and more quote-unquote different thing that Ubisoft people tried in recent times was Assassin's Creed Mirage. And the concept of Assassin's Creed Mirage was to go back in time. It wasn't even about looking forward. And of the games as a service they launched, which were supposedly the ones that would look after Ubisoft's future, well, they were all absolute failures. From Skullbones to all the free-to-play multiplayer games, games as a service and other things they launched, none of them hit the mark. X-Defiant was going to be the Call of Duty killer. I mean, they even went that far. The chief executive officer of Ubisoft was saying that Skullbones was a quadruple A. Really? You have to be very foolish to think that Skullbones can be a quadruple A? You might think it's a fun game as a service, maybe if you really like pirates, which is also not a fun game. You play the first 3 hours and you already realize where the game is going. And you have to be very disconnected from the reality of video games to be the chief executive officer of a video game company. And come to say that X-Defiant is the total revolution and that Skullbones is a quadruple A. It's silly, it doesn't make sense. It appears they had the same communication with us, the press and the public. They have it with the investors and they lie to them or tell them things that are not good. Juraj Krupa is very upset with Ubisoft because the firm he represents invested a lot of money in the company based on these promises from Ubisoft. They claim to have revolutionary games that would change the market and numerous games as a service. And the situation turned out to be no, that instead of making money, people who have invested money in Ubisoft in the last 5 or 7 years have lost almost 80% of their investments. In fact, this Juraj Krupa is the one who has been publishing letters and requests to Ubisoft since last year to stop the fall of the shares and do something about it. I won't digress further about Krupa, but instead focus on his message. Ubisoft is in talks with Microsoft, with Electronic Arts, and with others interested in acquiring Ubisoft's intellectual property. And management also did not inform the public or investors about these steps, said this Krupa. This, if true, is very serious, because it would make it clear that Ubisoft is not only totally desperate, but its executives have completely lost their minds. This is not a secret. Video game companies are valued for their IPs. They may have their professionals, but professionals come and go. They may have their studios, but studios open and close. They may have their financial resources and executives. But what video game companies are really valued for are their IPs, their intellectual properties, their registered trademarks. The moment a company starts selling IPs, it starts losing value. Perhaps it brings in money immediately, but in the long run, it's something that hurts you. Krupa even accuses Ubisoft of other very serious things, such as having been incompetent with the launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows, and having promised things to investors that were not later fulfilled, knowing that they were not going to fulfill them. On July 18, 2024, management proposed that Assassin's Creed Shadows should save the company and its finances for the first time. On that date, Ubisoft confirmed the forecast for the full year and the launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows on November 15th. A few weeks later, they delayed it. Krupa commented and argued that Ubisoft already knew they were going to delay the game and that they didn't mention it to the investors. This Krupa guy kept saying things like there's no communication between the investors and Ubisoft, that Ubisoft handles things however they want without consulting them, which is fine. The Guillemot family is the majority investor in Ubisoft, and they are the ones moving the company forward. But one cannot start conversations with Microsoft or Electronic Arts to sell IPs without talking to the investors. Why are you talking about selling? Or at least see if the others are interested in buying one of the main assets of your company, which is the IPs. IGN, which was the medium that made all this information known, contacted Ubisoft and asked them what's up. Is this okay? Is it wrong? Are they doing this or not doing this? And Ubisoft's response is quite controversial. The board of directors has established an independent committee to oversee this formal and competitive process. In order to obtain the maximum value from Ubisoft's assets and franchises for all stakeholders, Ubisoft will inform the market in accordance with applicable regulations once the transaction materializes. Well, it's a bit of business language, but anyway, I think it's clearly understood. Ubisoft told IGN, yes, we are doing it, but there is a committee, then we will announce when we have something. We are looking to get the most out of our IPs and franchises. That's what Ubisoft says. They are not denying it, they never denied it, and in fact, they said they have a committee for that. Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Rainbow Six, Watch Dogs, Just Dance, Prince of Persia. These are all very important IPs that I don't think Ubisoft would be selling just like that. Maybe Ubisoft will allow others to develop games from those IPs. Something that has happened in the past, pardon the redundancy, with other video game companies and with other titles and things like that. But then there are many other Ubisoft IPs that perhaps are not as well known, or maybe they are not as current, like Steep, like Trackmania, like Driver, Splinter Cell, which in fact, well, a new Splinter Cell should be coming. Something similar was around, and you've seen how it is. It's announced that they're developing it, and then no, it got cancelled and nobody found out. The Crew trials meet the magic beyond good and evil rabbits. There are so many other video game IPs that Ubisoft has. They might be thinking of getting rid of those things. Even though they may not seem like interesting, important, or significant IPs, they are still values of the company. Selling any of Ubisoft's approximately 30 IPs, regardless of perceived value, would decrease the company's overall worth. The thing is, there are many that are either not known or have been left far behind in time. We have no idea what is going to happen with Ubisoft, or if Tencent will finally show up to save them. Or maybe a miracle happens and Assassin's Creed Shadow turns out to be a revelation. I really don't think so, says someone who played it, who is playing it right now. I don't think so, but who knows? What is certain is that if a miracle doesn't happen, if something moderately positive doesn't happen, looking ahead to this year, Ubisoft's situation is already unsustainable. It's not just the players and people who buy games and pay for services that are applying pressure, but now they are being directly pressured from within, the investors themselves. And for at least one investor to come out and say the company is trying to sell games without telling people, they're doing it behind their backs, it's very serious, it's very grave. In short, this is the current situation, this is how Ubisoft is. Soon, probably Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to release my analysis of Assassin's Creed Jaws to discuss in depth what I think of the game and where is this heading. We'll discuss the title further. For now, this is the information I leave you with. And of course, I'd like to know your thoughts on it. What do you think will ultimately be the future of Ubisoft? Put it down here in the comments because I'm very interested. If you like opinion content about video games and popular culture and other things, in the first comment is the link to our daily podcast, which comes out in audio format from Monday to Friday. Go check it out. It's really good. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.